Welcome to the Book Party Podcast. Join us as we journey into the world of books with Michael T. Prepare to be captivated by engaging interviews, insightful discussions, and fascinating stories. You'll discover new adventures and gain insight into the creative process of the authors themselves as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Now let's hear from Michael T.
This is Michael T., and I thank you for being with us here this morning. To all our listeners, I would ask that you go to bookpartypodcast.com. That is bookpartypodcast.com. Hit that subscribe button on top, then go down to the icon of your choice where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms. Download, and you can follow us there. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter to get the latest information on our upcoming shows. I'd like to introduce our guest this morning, Julietta Smith, and her book, Moving Beyond the Rainbow Bridge, Your Journey to Healing After Losing Your Dog. Julietta Smith is an advocate, published opinion editorial writer, founder of House of Seven Literature, LLC, and law school graduate who enjoys doing photo shoots in parachute dresses in Santorini, Greece, and in balloon skirts in Italy. Smith is a native Floridian and resident of Atlanta, Georgia. A new indie author, her debut book, Moving Beyond the Rainbow Bridge, Your Journey to Healing After Losing Your Dog, was released on June 20th. Learn more about the author and her book at www.juliettasmithauthor.com. Julietta, why don't you take it from here, fill in some of these blanks, and tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, thank you so much, Michael, for having me here. As introduced, I'm Julietta Smith, author of Moving Beyond the Rainbow Bridge, Your Journey to Healing After Losing Your Dog. A little bit of background on myself is that this book came into fruition after I lost my 14-year-old Yorkshire Terrier, Ches, and I went through a state of depression. It happened during my second year of law school, and literally he went into cardiac arrest, and he was gone 6 hours before an exam, and I didn't know what to do. Prior to this, if I can back up a little bit, I am the type of individual who has always been a go-getter, a trendsetter, always had high aspirations for myself. Love to travel, so law school is a second career for me. It's a pivot. I've been in the securities industry for over 20 years. So sometimes people ask, securities industry, what do you mean? Well, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And that is what I've always done. So me pivoting to this type of a career in the legal field, wanting to focus on civil rights litigation and immigration law, is to help others, to help those who are helpless, hopeless. And I think it kind of parallels to the book that I also wrote, is because this book, Moving Beyond the Rainbow Bridge, is going to be a catharsis for readers, those dog owners who feel helpless, who feel hopeless, and who just don't know how to grieve your dog. I didn't know how. And that is what brings it full circle, kind of parallel to the career that I'm moving into, is that understanding that it's okay to grieve, understanding that there is a way to grieve, and taking those necessary steps, because a lot of people don't understand. You know how to grieve a human being, however, you don't know how to grieve your pet. And many people try to make you feel better by stating, just get another dog or just get another cat. And it's really not that simple. And those statements to the dog owner who truly loves their fur baby can be offensive. It's almost equivalent to stating, get another baby. And that sounds crazy, and it sounds crazy to us. And so this book is a catalyst to help those who are grieving, but also help those who are not dog owners understand what dog owners actually go through and the deep hurt and mourning that goes along with that loss, because these animals are our fur babies. So that is a little bit about myself and how it parallels to this debut book that I have. What other questions do you have for me?
Okay, that's really a good explanation. Okay, so you're an indie author, right?
Correct, I am.
So you've
I
done everything yourself on this book.
I did. I actually I started off with, let me back up a little bit, Michael. Originally, writing a book was just not in my wheelhouse to do. I've written since I was a child, and I have manuscripts, a treasure trove of manuscripts, but actually putting a book out there to be judged and critiqued by others, that just wasn't in me to do. I can write you an appellate brief because that's what we learn how to do in law school. I can write a motion because that's what we learn how to do in law school. And in my industry, as a compliance officer in the securities industry, I can write up, and I'm also an arbitrator in the industry for FINRA. I can write decisions all day. And your thoughts or your critique of it really doesn't matter because it is what it is. But doing a creative writing was a bit more challenging for me. And as an indie author, I looked at every YouTube show that was out there, YouTube video that was out there, to try to learn and understand what I needed to do. I learned about vanity press. I learned about traditional publishing. I learned about the costs that go into it, and I watched videos ad nauseum. And I finally decided to go, and I did interview a couple of publishers. Come to find out, they were vanity publishers. And I ended up following this one attorney on YouTube who's also an author, and he gave 7 or 8 red flags. He said that if you see XYZ, it's a red flag. Don't do this, don't do that. And so it made sense to me because as someone who is in law school, someone who's in compliance, and me being type A, you're very analytical. So what he said made sense. And I wrote it all down. And when I started seeing the red flags, I said, okay, I'm going to go this alone. I'm going to understand how to be an indie author. I'm going to understand how to be self-published because I do have some other books, other manuscripts that are behind this one. And I took the plunge and I went to Reedsy and I interviewed different professionals for editors, for illustrators, for designers. And from there, I contracted with two professionals who've been in the industry, an editor, as well as an illustrator. He's a children's book illustrator, but he said he wanted to take the challenge on to do the cover for my book. And he said it would be something different for him, but I loved his colors. I loved the shapes of his designs or his illustrations. And we all partnered, and they worked with my type A personality. It started February 20th. The illustrator, he said, we're not moving forward until you give me an approval. Well, that approval didn't come until April, because we went back and forth every week. We went back and forth. No, change the eyes. No, my dog looks a little sad. I gave him 15 photos of my dog, and I gave him 3 videos. I said, I want you to capture his essence, not just the photo. That's the extent we went through. And then with the editor, being someone who was, in law school at the time, I just graduated. I'm thinking I knew how to write. Well, she tore it up, and I was like, well, I guess I don't know how to write. She said, you do. You write technical, but you need to be able to connect with the audience, connect with your reader. And so I followed her lead, and we produced a very good book, and it's structured so well, and my pre-orders pre-order customers, their feedback has been, this is formatted so well, it's structured so well. And then I watched every little penny that went out, even down to the stamps that I purchased, even down to my marketing cards. So it's been a task as an indie author, but I wouldn't change the trajectory that this took me on for anything in the world. I did not have any big financial losses, and it's because I listened, I researched, and I stuck with my plan and didn't get emotional and carried away.
All right. Well, okay. Through your writing time, what take us to the point in time that was your worst author moment?
My worst author moment was working with the editor, and she wanted me to put in more of myself with one section of the book. The section is behind the curtain, and it's titled My Story, My Ches. That section, it is to connect with the reader, and I had to go back to the day that Ches died. So I'm sorry, I still get emotional. But that day, having to walk through every minute, every moment, was very hard. And it's in trying to communicate that in writing so the reader feels it the way that I felt it, required me to go back to that day over and over again. And it can be traumatizing, because the only way that the reader was going to feel what I felt that day was to walk them through it.
Wow. Okay. Take us to the point in time that you had an incredible light bulb go off in your head, epiphany moment that you just said, wow, I got to write something down. I had something, light bulb went off in my head. Wow, where's my pen? Where's my paper? I just had this epiphany. I got to write it down. Take us to a moment that happened to you. No matter what you were doing, the light bulb went off in your head, the epiphany moment.
I would have to say it would be in the book is a compilation of short stories, poetry, etc. And it was standing in my kitchen, and there are some things that I do, some habits I have now because, I try to accommodate my dog. So it was holding my sneeze, and because if I sneeze, I didn't realize how loudly I sneezed, which my dog he would go bananas. And so me standing in my kitchen and trying to stifle my sneeze, because I still do that, because of him, and I just fell out laughing to myself. And that is when I said, this has to be in the book. This has to be in the book, because our dogs, our fur babies, they when we think we're training them, they're actually training us. And so with me trying to stifle my sneeze, and I looked around the kitchen, of course he's not here, but I just fell out laughing because he trained me to not sneeze loudly. And so I said, this has to go in the book to help the reader think about their fur baby and what their fur baby trained them to do to accommodate them.
All right. Okay. That's pretty cool. What was the one thing today? Now, this is today. What was the one thing that you are most fired up about? Something you're excited about right now, today?
I am very excited about the opportunity to be in one of the largest Black-owned indie bookstores in the DMV area. I took a leap. It's called Essence Festival in Louisiana, and I drove down there with my query letter or pitch letter and a book. And I knew that her bookstore is one of the large sponsors for Essence Festival. And I said, if I don't do anything else, I'm going to get my book in her hand. And I went there, walked into the convention center, went to go purchase a shirt from her shop. They were hosting a lot of authors, so she was busy running around. I purchased the shirt, and it just so happened that her son was ringing me up. And I looked back and I said, is it possible for me to speak to her? Because there were so many people swarming around her. And he said, well, she's a bit busy. They're about to, start another show. And I said, okay. So as I walked out, I locked eyes with her and I said, may I just get a photo with you? And she said, yes, absolutely. And at that moment in my mind, it was like, you either say something now or your opportunity is gone. And right. I took out a marketing card, I handed it to her, and I said, I'm a new author. Will you just look at my card? And she said, well, let me take a photo. I don't have any pockets on me. And she patted her skirt she had on. She was like, see, I don't have any pockets. I don't have anywhere to hold this. And I said, okay. So she took a photo. And as I took the card back, I reached into my bag and I pulled out my book. And I said, will you just look at my book? I said, understand, I did go through the proper channels and I submitted it on your website as you tell all authors to do. But will you just look at it? And she looked at it and she took her finger and she drew a circle around your journey to healing. And she said, we don't have anything like this. And she flipped through the book and she said, there is nothing in any of my stores that's like this. And I said, I know, because I had already done my homework. And she said, I want this in my store. And she asked me my price point for the paperback and the hardcover. And then she asked me my distributor. And I told her Ingram Spark. And she said, that's the only distributor we work with. She said, you've done well. And I said, you can keep the book. And she said, well, do you know how much stuff we have to take back? And I said, I know, but put it in your carry-on or something. And she said, I'm keeping this. And she said, you know what? Here's my personal email address. Contact me. We're going to get your book in our stores. And so as of today, I am ecstatic over that. I followed up an email to her, and we'll see where it goes.
That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Okay. Again, this is Michael T. Please go to bookpartypodcast.com. That's bookpartypodcast.com. Hit that subscribe tab. Go down there and choose your favorite platform where you can follow us. And if you enjoy our show, don't hesitate to leave a review. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and get the latest information of our upcoming shows. We're giving a shout out to Power Rhythmic Hits from iHeartRadio. All right, we're in the lightning round. What was holding you back from becoming an author in the first place?
Fear. And, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And my fear was having people critique what I wrote. Sometimes we think
that's the common one.
Yeah, what we are. And imposter syndrome. Because you develop that, well, I know in law school you develop it. You wonder if you really made it this far because you're really that good, or was it for some other reason? And so it's been fear and imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's the common one. What was the best advice you ever received as an author?
You did well. And I'm proud that you took the leap to help others.
Very good. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Personal habit would be stick-to-itiveness. I'm laser focused, and I don't quit a project that I start.
Very good. This has to do with your writing. Share an internet resource with our listeners that you use for your writing. One internet resource that you use.
Readsy.com.
I'm sorry?
Readsy. That's a platform where you can not only hire different professionals in the industry, but they also have different tools to help you develop your writing and give you different ideas for writing.
Okay. Very good. Okay, now we're going to enter the grand finale. In the grand finale, what we have here is this is where you can tell people, our listeners, where they can find you, where they can find your books, and find out about your books. Website, maybe if you have other platforms that they can go to find out about your book. And this is the place for you to just talk about your book. So go ahead, Julietta.
Well, you can find me at my author website, which is Julietta, or www.julietta, that's Julieta, smithauthor.com. And there you will find information about myself and also any other opt-ed editorials that I've written. The links are there for that as well. You can also find my book on Amazon.com. You can find it at Barnes & Nobles. You can find it at Waterstone, which is actually a store in the UK. My book is actually listed online in 80 different countries because of my distributor that I work with. So Barnes & Noble's, Books A Million, Thrift Books, and the list goes on. Waterstone's, Hudson Books. So you can find it there. And also, as far as following me, you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. The name handle is the same, which is Julieta L Smith. That's Julieta L Smith .author. And that's on Instagram and on Facebook. And then I'm also on TikTok under Jules_JD. That's JULEZ_JD. And then for my professionals that are out there, you can find me on LinkedIn, and it is Julieta Smith, JD 2023.
So let's hear about your book.
Moving Beyond the Rainbow Bridge, Your Journey to Healing After Losing Your Dog, is a compilation of poetry, short stories, and guided journal prompts. And the combination is to, one, allow the reader to step into my life and see what I went through as a dog owner, but also then to help guide them through the first 6 months of the grieving process. The foreword is written by a wonderful veterinarian out of Atlanta, Georgia. His name is Dr. Kerwin Tanner, and he's the chief of staff with Banfield. And then also the introduction is written by a professional pet sitter. So having their perspectives really enhance the book, especially from a veterinarian, because many of us, we just see them as someone to take care of our dog or take care of our fur babies. And we don't think about the aspect that they have feelings. And so Dr. Tanner actually goes into that in the foreword, that they cry like we cry. They adopt our families like we've adopted families, if we adopt any or have children. And so he really gives his side as a veterinarian, which you end up having a bigger appreciation for them. And in it, he actually quotes, they're actually a part of our family. They just don't get invited to the holiday dinners. So because they're with us for so long. But then after those two individuals have written, there's the preface, and I just had the reader to understand that this next part of the book is going to involve them. The book allows you to put in your dog's photos, write a letter to your dog, things that you may have wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to say. It also helps the reader with making this a keepsake, especially the hardcover. The hardcover you can put in locks of hair, which many pet owners keep when their pet has crossed the rainbow bridge. You can put in their collar, so it really becomes a one-stop shop for that dog owner, or for that pet owner, to be able to have a keepsake book for them. Some of the journal prompts, it gets them to see how they were taught lessons by their fur babies. As you know, fur babies can't speak, so they can't tell us what's wrong. They can't tell us where they're hurting, etc. But they make us pay attention to them, and so because of that, there are journal prompts in there that get the reader to think about, what did they learn? How did they become a better human being because of their fur baby? What habits did they have before that they have had to change because of their fur baby? For me, it was how I actually communicate with individuals. Whereas I thought that, because I'm a direct person, I thought that what I say, because it has no malintent, that it was fine. Well, my dog, Cheds, taught me, no, just because you don't have any malintent in your delivery, it still may not come out right. And so I learned that from him, because dogs have a way of looking at us and showing their displeasure. And so there's a part of the journal that addresses that. What did your dog do to show that they were not pleased with some of the things that you did? They also teach us how to be timely. They teach us how to love, and then and to really pay attention to what's going on around us as human beings. And so that is what this book slash interactive journal is about. And it takes the reader through 6 months. I've had some customers who have purchased that said that they've worn their dog for 4 and 5 years, and they never had anything to actually be able to have an outlet. I had one reader contact me, and he said that his wife and he lost their dog 6 years ago. When he received my book, she finally started talking about the dog. And that means a lot, because we hold these emotions, we bottle them up, but this book allows you to be able to express yourself. You can color in the book, you can write poetry in the book. I'm not a professional poet, so I do address that every poem is from my heart. And I don't want the reader to feel like they have to have any type of structure, or have to write professionally. This is for them. This is a keepsake for them. This is their book about their baby, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There are no rules with it. So they have me as a guide, and for those first 6 months, they just take that journey. Some have asked, well, why isn't it 12 months? Well, 12 months is a long time, and what I found is that at 6 months, I was able to laugh more. I was able to think about and talk about my dog more without being so sad and crying. And so that's why I left it at 6 months, because that was a good measurement to bring the person to a point where they can kind of do the same. You're not going to ever be healed from losing your fur baby, because they leave paw prints on our hearts. But at least get the reader to a point where they can smile more, and they can have those memories and think about their fur baby and not feel the guilt that some of them feel, whether they were euthanized or whether it was a terrible accident, or you go through that process of, did I not do the right thing? I had one gentleman say he believed that he wasn't supposed to have children because he turned his head for 30 seconds and his dog ran out in the street and was hit. So he felt that he was never supposed to have children, and this was a sign. And this book helps that individual to not have that guilt, because we can guilt trip ourselves, and that is not how we need to live our lives. So that is what Moving Beyond the Rainbow Bridge is about. It's about seeing our fur babies cross that bridge, but knowing that we have to move forward, and there is a way that we can, and be able to be okay.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I wish I had that book when my last dog passed. Okay, well, again, this is Michael T. please go to bookpartypodcast.com. That's bookpartypodcast.com. Hit that subscribe tab. Go down there and choose your favorite platform where you can download, follow us, and if you enjoy our show, don't hesitate to leave a review. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter to get the latest information on our upcoming shows. We would like to give a shout out to iHeartRadio's Power Rhythmic Hits. Book Party Podcast is owned and powered by MTM Legacy Publishing, LLC. This is Michael T. and Powering Off.
You must not miss our next episode as we delve into a world of inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking insights. Join Michael T. on the next Book Party Podcast and experience a new adventure, a new story, and a complete immersion into the world of Pages Unveiled, Chronicles of the Writing Journey.